Today we're going to take a wee look at some mixed examples. So, as you probably have gathered by now, exam questions, they'll never ever say to you, use the sine rule or use a cosine rule. Your job is to know which rule to use and when. Okay? So we've covered using the sine rule to find a side and an angle. We've covered using the cosine rule to find a side and an angle. Now all is fair game. Okay? My tip for you for this is always assume that the question is using the sine rule unless you have one of these two situations. So if you have a triangle where you have two sides and the included angle, again it's that Winston Churchill scenario that I spoke to you about, where we have side, and angle in between, use the cosine rule. Or if you have all three sides, use the cosine rule. So assume the sine rule unless you have one of these two situations, because these situations mean that the sine rule cannot work. Because for the sine rule to work, you need to have a side over an angle, and then one part of another side over an angle. These situations don't have that. So when you go to do a trig question, always assume the sine rule. Unless it's one of these situations, then in that case you use the cosine rule. Okay? So let's look at example 12. So find the side or the angle marked in these here. Okay, so we've got a triangle where we have one angle 95 degrees, a side of 9 and a side of 7. Okay, so going back to what we have here, it matches up this first situation here. So we can't use the sine rule because we don't know an angle and an opposite side. So if I have 9, I don't know this angle here. If I've got 7, I don't have the angle here. So I can't use the sine rule, but it's that side included angle situation that I have here. So it has to be the cosine rule. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So remember, first step, we label our triangle. So I'm just going to call this triangle DEF. Doesn't have to be ABC, we can use any letter we want, remember. And then let's label our sides. So this will be side E, this will be side D, this will be side F. So the cosine rule says that A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. And I want to find out this bit here that's called E. So remember, we match up the side that we have, the side that we want, with the angle that we have. So that would just be E squared is equal to D squared plus F squared minus 2DF cos E. So in terms of that, that's going to be X squared is equal to 9 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 9 times 7 times the cosine of 95. And then we just type that into our calculator as we see it. Remember, when you're doing this, make sure your calculator is in degrees mode. So 2 times 9 times 7 times cos 95, and we should have 140.9816,236. So x is going to be the square root of that. So square root your answer, and we get 11.873,56828. So it doesn't specify what to round to, so we'll just round it to 2 decimal places. So therefore x is approximately equal to 11.87 centimetres to 2 decimal places. Okay, let's look at example B then. Example B has got a triangle where we have two angles, one side and an unknown side. So remember, straight away, Like I've said to you before, if you know two angles, straight away fill in the third angle. So 180, take away 85, take away 42, this angle here is going to be 53 degrees. And like I said at the beginning, always assume the sine rule. Well, this isn't the cosine rule situation, so we can use the sine rule. Let's label it. So I think I'll just go ahead and call this angle x. Why not? So we'll call it x, y, z. So we have side x, this will be side y, and this will be side z. So it'll be a over sine a is equal to b over sine b is equal to c over sine c. Let's write it out for x, y, and z. So that'll be x over sine x is equal to y over sine y is equal to z over sine z. And then let's just tick off what we know. Well, we know what side z is. We know what angle z, angle y, and angle x are. And I want to find out the size of side x. I'll mark that with a question mark. So the sine rule works out. I have one full fraction and half of the fraction that I want, so I can just ignore the fraction that's no use to me. So it's going to be x over sine x is equal to z over sine z. So put those values in. So we have x over sine 53 is equal to 15 over sine 85. Let's cross multiply. So that'll be x times sine 85 is equal to 15 times sine 53. So x is going to be 15 times sine 53, all divided by sine 85. And then just plug that into the calculator. So 15 times sine 53 divided by sine 85, and we get 12.025 29252. So give it to two decimal places, why not? So x is going to be approximately equal to 12.03 centimetres to two decimal places. I will do example C and D in the next video.